We now move over to the Middle East, where tensions are surging in the region after Yemen's Iran-backed Houthis launched a missile that landed near Israel's Ben Gurion International Airport, briefly halting air traffic and triggering panic among passengers. The missile impact sent a plume of smoke rising near the country's busiest airport and set off raid sirens across central Israel. In response, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has vowed multiple retaliatory strikes, declaring this is not a one and done. There will be blows. He confirmed coordination with the United States in dealing with the Houthi threat. Let's take a listen in to Netanyahu's statement.
Very strong action against them, and we always remember that they act with their patron Iran's direction and support. We will do what we need to do to take care of our security, to respond effectively, and to give Iran a due warning that this cannot continue.
Meanwhile, in Yemen, the Houthis accused the US of carrying out at least 10 airstrikes in and around the capital of Sana'a, including 2 on Arabin Street and 1 near the airport road. According to the Houthi-run health ministry, 14 people were killed in the Sarwan area. Following the missile attacks, several US and European airlines have suspended flights to and from Israel, just months after services had resumed under a fragile ceasefire with Hamas. And we are joined by Dr. Punsara Amarasinghe, Koltawala Defence University, located in Colombo, Sri Lanka. Thank you very much for joining us, Dr. Amarasinghe. We obviously see missiles launched from the Houthis towards Israel on a regular basis. This one is different, however. It seems to have gotten through Israel's defense systems. What does this Houthi missile landing near the Ben Gurion airport signal about the group's growing regional reach and intent?
I think Israel was quite accustomed to the attacks coming from the Houthis for past 1.5 years. It was not something strange, but this was an exception, as this was the very first time the Houthi missiles could penetrate the Ben Gurion airport, even though it did not create a huge damage or the loss of lives. But the economic impact, the impact of the fear that it created by the Houthi attack was something shocking, and it can create a paranoia in the Israeli psyche. So first and foremost, we must understand that if you put Houthis and Israel on a scale, in terms of the technology, in terms of the economy, and in terms of the international support, Israel is head of the curve. But in what context, how can Houthis give such a severe headache for the Israelis and the Americans? That is no more than a wonderful example of usage of asymmetric warfare, right? So Houthis have adopted the asymmetrical warfare by draining billions of dollars of Israelis and the Americans. You can quite clearly see that Israel has a defense system, something like the Iron Dome. They completely rely on the high technological equipment supported by the Americans and the manufactured within Israel, but still they are coping with the Houthis, who have manufactured quite basic, elementary, the missiles and the ammunitions. So it's a very bizarre scenario. This conflict erupted by the Houthis is likely to continue. It might even pave the path for the further escalation in the days to come.
Yes, and Dr. Amarasinghe, you touched on it briefly there, but what are the military capabilities of the Houthis? Obviously, they've been striking ships in the Red Sea. That's what these US strikes are in regard to. But what are the groups that are obviously Iran-backed military capabilities in comparison to Israel and the United States?
It was exactly in 2014 the deceased Iranian General Soleimani, openly supported the Houthis under the doctrine of the Islamic Republic of Iran. Under the Quad forces, Soleimani described Houthis as a great partners for the future. So Iranians aptly used Houthis for the proxy war, and it continued even after the assassination of Soleimani. And if you ask about the military capabilities possessed by the Houthis, it is a question beyond doubt that they are being supported by Tehran. The Tehran has been given them missiles, the rocket launchers, and the very basic missiles. But now the defense analysts have clearly indicated that the Houthis themselves are capable of manufacturing the very short-scale missiles within Yemen, right? So they spend few thousands of dollars, if not few $100s, to manufacture very rudimentary, very small weapons, right? And in retaliations, Israelis and Americans are spending billions of dollars. So it's a kind of an economic war. So you will realize in the long run who would be the real loser. And when it comes to the military capabilities, the Houthis are being known as the Iranian octopus, right? So they are being trained logistically and they are being given the fullest military technical assistance by the Iranian regime. So it is going to be a tremendous threat for the security architecture in the Middle East.
Yes, and finally, Dr. Amara Singh, Netanyahu has said multiple times that Israel's biggest threat comes from the three H's, that is Hezbollah, Hamas and the Houthis. How would you characterize the Houthis as opposed to those other groups that people will hear in the news all the time? What are the Houthis' main aims?
Well, fundamentally, if you look at the ideological position of the Houthis, they are differentiated from the Hamas because unlike Hamas, Houthis do not penetrate into Israel physically. They rather choose different techniques. They're simply breaking the sea, the command of chain in the Red Sea by giving a tremendous threat for the Israelis and rest of the world. And ideologically, Houthis are differentiated from the Hamas because Hamas is mainly driven by the I would say Sunni ideology, and they do have Palestinian nationalism goals. So when it comes to the Houthis, and they do strongly oppose to the rest of the Sunni countries such as the Saudi Arabia, even Egypt, right? And they are ideologically aligned with the Iranians. So these are the fundamental differences between Hamas and the Houthis. And when it comes to the Houthis, they do, exactly as same manner how Hamas adopted the asymmetrical warfare. Houthis are extremely capable of embracing asymmetrical warfare, giving constant fears for the Israelis. For an example, what happened in the Ben Gurion airport on Sunday is an amazing example of their usage of asymmetrical warfare.
Dr. Amara Singh, thank you very much for joining us and your insight. We now stay in the Middle East. The Israeli military has begun